I have no clue whose idea it was to make the Toxic Avenger a full-length ad on YouTube, but oh man, is this a tough one to wait on. At least I have my part 2 ad coming up now. Great.
Hey, do you like Sonic?
Yeah?
Do you love Sonic games?
Uh-huh.
Are you sick and tired of having fun over and over again?
Wait, what?
Ready for something new?
No. New isn't good. New isn't ever good.
Too bad. We don't care what you want.
Oh.
Spring into action with Polyroll, the newest and coolest platformer from Spicy Gyro Games. Make your way through 36 jaw-dropping levels with unique enemies, hidden gems, and challenging bosses in this retro 2D adventure. Out now for Nintendo home consoles and electronic computer systems. Bitch!
I mean, looks okay. Polyroll. What in the world is a polyroll? It's this. After doing a few minutes of searching, and by a few minutes of searching I mean one Google search later, I found that Polyroll here is actually a creature known as the roly-poly. Commonly known as the potato bug or pill bug, it's kind of a weird creature to use as your platformer star, isn't it? Then again, I suppose it's no weirder than a hedgehog, plumber, earthworm, boy in a chicken suit, voodoo doll, glove, kangaroo, fox, zombie, robot, angry nerd, dragon, knight in shining armor. I could go all day. Maybe Polyroll isn't as odd as I'm making him out to be. Even though Polyroll's character design confused me, it's what initially drew me to the game. Look at that smile. It gleams with adventure. After doing what all gamers do, judging a book by its cover, I mean, sometimes you shouldn't do it, and other times you should, I decided to skim it over on Steam. Wow, looks pretty awesome, right? Just that quick, I was sold. The intro shows what looks to be some sort of metallic bird stealing a bunch of roly-polys with their personal army of purple bird servants. This is all I came to because besides the ending, this is the only sort of story development we get the entire game. Now before I begin this review, I would like to say that although I did make fun of Polyroll for being similar to Sonic earlier, I'm going to try to do as little comparisons between the two as possible, and when I do, it's going to just, to simply illustrate a point. This will not be a direct side-by-side comparison review. I think that'd be really unfair and disingenuous of me to sort of, treat Polyroll like that, but I'm going to see if, Polyroll can indeed prove to both me and you that it can create an identity all its own, so let's check it out. The opening level is Seafoam Acres 1, which serves as a tutorial level. Here we have text on a sign to teach us, as opposed to letting us figure things out on our own. I don't know how dumb this game thinks I am, but I think I got the gist of what it's meant to do. I'll say it before and I'll say it again, if I can't pick up the controls, press all the buttons, and figure out what's what, that's a fail in my book. A different story could be said for special abilities or new moves you unlock down the line when progressing further in the game and expanding your control set, but as far as immediately playing the game, figuring it out smooth and quickly, the platforming controls we're going to be using at almost every instance, if I can't press it like a confused caveman and understand it, not good. However, we're in luck, as you may be able to tell, controls here are simple but well executed. On an Xbox controller, we move around with the control stick, press A to jump, press X for a quick roll, and hold it to do a charged roll. That's about it. Though the controls are nearly flawless, the execution of them feels a bit off. This roll is so lousy, it doesn't feel powerful or fast, it lacks any sort of oomph to it. If you quickly tap to roll, that's what he does, is just a roll. You can hold the roll button down till the cows come home to get the most out of this thing, and every time you'll end up with a lackluster kindergarten somersault. The peak of the roll's force and speed in Polyroll feels like the end cooldown of Sonic Spin Dash. There were a number of times throughout the game where the imperfections of the rolls caused me to mess up passing an obstacle or get me hit by an enemy. What about the roll made it feel so underwhelming and lackluster? Well, I believe I may have found the answer. If doing an immediate roll comes out from a tap, then the full roll takes less than a second to charge up. I'm unable to differentiate at what point the roll transforms to what speed at what point. It's way too specific and finicky. You only get a visual indicator when it's fully charged, even though it's too slow to be fast and too weak to feel powerful. I don't want to point out and insult the faults of this core mechanic, because if I don't have a viable solution myself, then it's the difference between constructive criticism and just straight up complaining. First off, this roll needs to take longer to fully charge, maybe 2 to 3 seconds. 3 seconds sounds optimal. Give some visual indicators for each stage of the roll's charge cycle before I let go. Different colors, smoke, actually make him roll in place faster. Like I said earlier, I really didn't want to directly compare Polyroll to Sonic at all, but if it had straight up copied the charging and rolling mechanics, property, and speed, I think it possibly would have been more beneficial to the overall gameplay experience of Polyroll rather than what's here. I say possibly because speed isn't the name of the game. No sir, as a matter of fact, the pace of the game is pretty measured, all things considered. It's a steady paced journey from beginning to end. The focus isn't on speed, the focus isn't on platforming, the focus isn't even on defeating enemies, grabbing power-ups, or finding collectibles. Instead, they all share a level space together, with everything getting an equal amount of attention and screen time. There's a fair amount of exploration here. Very rarely will you find yourself simply moving left to right to complete your objective. If you can see it on the screen, odds are you can get there through some sort of platforming or environmental manipulation. The most common of which being stripper poles and bouncing off bad guys. Oh yeah, so nice, so smooth. Roll into the pole and have it shoot you straight up in the air. Timing of it is a bit weird though. Even sitting here now after, finish the game, I still can't, even tell you like when the proper time is to bounce off their head to get that little extra bit of height. It feels like there's a 1/3 chance of it not working and you getting hit and taking damage, a regular bounce off their head, or it actually working and doing what it's meant to. Power-ups are here in abundance and their diversity is just as impressive. Bombs to clear out breakable pathways, a ring of feathers lets you peacefully float in the air, and of course, we have invulnerability, which lets you move faster and decimates anything you lay your hands on, kinda like the star in Mario Kart. One power-up that really confused me was this one right here, a force field of spikes? Hell yeah, I'm untouchable now, or maybe not. It doesn't change my attacks either, so what in the world does this thing do? Well, believe it or not, this item allows you to not take damage from spikes. Kinda niche, don't you think? Although some items have more common and practical useful applications, they all have their place. Nothing is too uncommon to be useless or too overpowered to be broken. They all serve a role, even if some are more prominent than others. Two common collectibles you'll be snatching throughout your travels are golden diamonds and smaller colored diamonds. I guess it's true. Diamonds are forever. The small diamonds are used to refill your heart meter. Every 10 you collect will refill 1 heart. Grabbing these are a lot more important than you'd think. Your health carries over from each level, meaning if you finish a level with 1 heart, you'll begin the next level with 1 heart, so on and so forth. Even when you die, you respawn with just 1 heart, so grabbing these things while making sure you don't take any unnecessary hits is crucial to progressing further. Not much of a legitimate collectible, but we do collect them all. The golden diamonds act as prerequisites for new levels. Shines in Mario Sunshine, Pages in Ukulele, and hell, here's a throwback for some of the longtime viewers, even Sticks of Dynamite in Default Dan. You know the deal. There's 3 per level, and grabbing them opens up new worlds and special bonus levels. These bonus levels have you rushing to the end as fast as possible, surprisingly. Get to the end, and a new heart piece awaits for you, increasing your max HP by 1. But where the beauty lies in Polyroll is the difference between each world. Each world has its own unique, special, individual identity, and for myself personally, I really think that's the best thing that Polyroll has going for it. Seafoam Acres shows off the well-roundedness of both the design and functionality of both the level and enemies. The colors are bright and vivid and all complement one another. Everything is just very pleasant to look at, and even though some platforms feel randomly placed or you bump into some dead ends, they all have a purpose and naturally teaching you kinda opposite how the controls are taught. Digital Mind was another world I found very charming. It makes good use of the futuristic computer sort of gimmick with floppy disk platforms, binary coding walkways, electrical current hazards, and you ready for this? Because I don't think you're ready for this. This really may be the greatest enemy in video game history. A Ram. Parcheesi Temple really stood out to me too. Can we take a moment to appreciate that name for a moment? Moment appreciated. I just really dig the whole aesthetic of this world. The fast-moving quicksand, the singing snakes with no snake charmers, thought that was pretty funny to see. Look at these colors. Drain the saturation out a bit, and boom, we're back in the 90s with all these funky looking, rarely used colors. This is a weird and rare circumstance of like everything else having character, besides the main character himself. Everything else is just like so much more visually appealing, entertaining, and gorgeous to look at. It did feel like a bit weird at first, but I slowly kind of like got numb to it over time. I did feel a bit put off by it, but everything else like is genuinely very cool to look at. So I guess if there's any takeaway from this, it's good job, I guess. We couldn't finish off each world without a boss battle, now could we? Despite my personal enjoyment of Polyroll coming from the quality implementation of each theme, I feel for most people, the highlight of Polyroll for them will be the boss fights. They're all so wacky, zany, and one of a kind, I couldn't help but smile. I can't remember if I've ever smiled at a boss fight, period, ever. That's how fun they are. Where else can you say you fought an electrical cord, a googly-eye furnace, and a UFO, all in one game? This may sound bombastic of me to say, but this is almost like Cuphead levels of like brilliancy as far as like the design and execution of the boss battles are concerned. Now, don't misconstrue my words. I'm not trying to say Polyroll and Cuphead are like the same thing. It's two very different worlds here. But I would definitely consider, Polyroll to be a solid runner-up in this category. And that's, nothing to sneeze at. Holy shit, do things ramp up for the final battle with, nope, still no explanation of who this is or what their name is. In an effort to keep spoilers of this insane multi-stage fight to a minimum, because you really should experience this for yourself, I died, and I'm not exaggerating, 103 times. It's that hard. I went back and watched each individual death because I didn't know what the final number was, but I knew it was very high, and yes, I am tremendously disappointed in myself. Once the fight's finished, we get a cutscene showing off all the roly-polies we saved. I didn't edit that, it just cuts off abruptly like that. What do we get for finishing the game? A bunch of color palette swaps of Polyroll. Sounds good in theory, but it's just that. None of the new Polyrolls play any different from each other. These are virtually worthless to me, and they're perhaps one of the laziest completion rewards possible for a game I've ever seen. All in all, Polyroll is a well-rounded platformer with very few flaws. The graphics are gorgeous, the controls are tight, the levels are varied and distinct, the boss battles are challenging and memorable. Pretty much everything you want in a quality platformer, especially a 2D quality platformer, is here. However, I do have a few outstanding issues. The application of the roll is actually a glaring issue for me. Even though it didn't really mess with my overall experience, I really felt like it was sloppily executed and definitely could have been improved upon before released. The inconsistency of achieving maximum height after jumping off an enemy, and something I haven't gone more in depth with yet, the story. Like, I can acknowledge that there is one and that it's here, but so much more could have been done with it. These main stage characters not only could have, but should have been way more fleshed out. I legit had to search online to find out that the main antagonist name is Kaiser Kiwi. Cool. Cutscenes with dialogue between worlds, thwarting our attempts at rescuing our pals, discussions with his boss henchmen, just inject these fellas with a bit more personality, Really try to build these characters with some character, get me invested, if even a little bit. If some small tweaks were made to these three areas specifically, I could see Polyroll getting a lot more attention than it hasn't. Fun game, some noticeable hiccups, but all in all, a solid experience. As for now, I'm off in search for the next great platforming game to enjoy, and hopefully for years and years to come. Welcome back to everyone's favorite least favorite part of the video, the outro. I want to give a special thanks to my buddy Skyla for doing the voiceover for the commercial bit at the start of the video. His YouTube channel is SuperGameEskimos. Doesn't really make videos at all anymore. Shouting him and his channel out was like the least I could do to, properly say thanks. He's got a lot of good wacky stuff on his channel. Go check him out and give him some love. But yeah, hopefully you guys will stay tuned for more videos. Go check out my boy SuperGameEskimos, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next video. See ya.